So we learned some things last night. First of all, like where we're camped right here is pretty much the elevation that I live at, whereas Patrick lives at sea level, so I had a distinct advantage when it came to the amount of wind it took to get up here. That was one. Two, the spot where we were supposed to camp was quite a bit further than 1.5 miles away, so we ended up getting caught after dark putting the tent up. And this tent, so last, it's a good high quality 4-season expedition tent, which is something that I'm happy to have, but I rarely use it. And so before our kind of failed trip last year, Patrick went through, we set it up, and he went through, and all the shock cord was pretty old, and so he like readjusted it. Well, we pulled the poles out last night after dark in the cold, and the shock cord had gotten further out of whack to the point that we couldn't even get the poles together, like forcing the shock cord into the poles, and so it took some time.
And you think, what could I possibly need a Leatherman for out here? And then
right.
We ended up using 2 of them.
Right, right. Yeah, they're like pull the ends out to readjust the cord, and just these little things that happen in the field.
Yeah, and it was a lot easier with 2 people, so that was good.
Yeah, Patrick and I guess you were probably 20 the first time we went on a trip together.
Yeah.
It's like been 15 years now, 10 years.
Yeah.
Any rate, we've gone on a lot of trips together, and we're both pretty relaxed, low-key dudes, so working our way through adversity like that together, it's comfortable, I guess I would say. And so, but it was 10 before we were actually in the tent and warm, and by then it was pretty cold out. So it was just the adventures of the evening, and we were thankful that it was not blowing wind or a snowstorm or something like that. So
that would have made things significantly less
comfortable. It's kind of interesting, this trip. So we set it up as a ski trip. This is our ski trip, right? A winter ski trip. But the reality is, like last year, we couldn't even come in just because of my infection, but there were like 3 buffalo in this whole valley because the snow was so bad last year. And even now, like, okay, we had to switch to snowshoes, but we're still kind of above where a lot of the animals are. Like the next valley lower, there were a lot more animals than when we drove through yesterday. So it's kind of has this musing on what we want this trip to look like if we do it again. And it's just kind of interesting if your goal is animals, full on midwinter, at least at this elevation, may not be the answer. So they're not having a good time of it, busting through the snow all the time. So these 2 buffalo here moved in above us from different directions. Just based on what's going on, we kind of suspect that they're looking to get a little brody with each other. But we were headed out here to get water. We don't want to somehow get mixed up in whatever it is they've got going on, so we're just kind of circling out here. As Patrick said to me earlier, if we come back and our tent is trampled, that's just kind of a clue that it's time to pack up and head out of here. But hopefully it doesn't happen. We'll see. Maybe bad form on a shared water filter, but I always keep like the clean end in my mouth to make sure that doesn't go in the water. The out, if you will.
Makes sense.
I've learned, Craig Cottle out at Nature Alliance School is taking a deep dive on what kind of filters do work and what don't, despite the manufacturer's claims. And basically, any filter, this is not a purifier, this is a filter. Well, the first thing he found is that any purifier that doesn't use chemicals is not a purifier. But the second thing is, if it's a filter, you don't want to rely on an O-ring to keep the water going where it needs to. This has O-rings in it, but as you can see, I mean, it draws the water up here, it forces it through this filter, and that's the outlet. And one of the keys is the filter element has to be completely molded. That's how you know that there's no way for the water to bypass an O-ring, and that's how this one happens to work, where water comes in through here, is forced out through here, through the ceramic element, and out this molded outlet. And in this case, if the filter element gets clogged, there's a bypass where, okay, it can't be forced through the element, we're just going to start spurting out here. And if that happens, that's how you know it's time to clean the element, which is what I'm in the process of doing. If you have a water filter that you don't know how to field service, you don't have a water filter. I've had situations where I had to do this after every quart of water just to keep the thing running, just because there was so much silt. And I really like, this one has a pre-filter, which helps out a lot. Some do, some don't. But at any rate, once that started spurting, I knew it was time to clean this filter element out. So I have at times had to completely take these home and get them working, and use a little bit of Vaseline to create a better seal, so it was less likely to hit the bypass valve, which is, I guess, what I'm going to have to do with this. That's why we always carry backup. Patrick and I both have purification tabs, so we're going to use those. But this is a textbook example of why I use a pump filter, because getting water up out of something like this is a huge pain in the butt. So what I'm actually doing here, I'm bypassing the filter element completely, so I'm simply using this to pump unfiltered, unpurified water directly into the water bottle. And I guess it is filtered in a way because there's that mesh pre-filter, so it's getting some of the bigger floaties out. And then after that, we drop a tab in it and wait the right amount of time, and we'll have not just filtered water, but actually purified water. So then maybe that's a handy thing. There's buffalo dung all over this little drainage, so maybe it was a situation where purification was a good thing. But at any rate, we got backups. We're still using the pump element to get the water into the container, and then we'll use our backup tablets for our water. We've been catching whiffs of something geothermal. Little do we know, it's right above our camp. This, I guess in theory, we could have taken water from here. I don't know what I don't know, so I'd be leery about doing so. But it does look like buffalo have been drinking it. You know, there's tracks coming up to places to drink water. And he's quiet now, but there's a little frog down here making noise, so this is just fascinating. I have no idea what kind of flora and fauna this supports, but it's obviously a year-round geothermal feature. Really neat to see.
So we're back at camp. Bottles have been agitating as they've been riding our packs, and it's been plenty of time for our chemical purifier to do its job on the water. And one thing you can do to just add a little extra measure of protection is to purge the valves on your water bottle by turning it upside down and just cracking it a little bit. and letting some water out. And what that will do is just kind of purge those valves with the clean, purified water, so that any water that gathered on the rim of your bottle while you were filling it from your non-clean source, you don't end up consuming. So just a little extra measure of protection.
Yeah, honestly, with this tent, I don't think I'd even worry about getting out to shovel snow off the top of it.
I think this could take 6 inches easy.
I think it could take a foot easy.
Yeah.